You've seen part 1, so now it's time for part 2 of my May monthly wrap. So welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Let's go! Yes, hello, and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. I am, of course, Mr. Francy, and I'm truly honoured that you have once again chosen to join me today as I continue on with my May monthly wrap. In part 1, I spoke about the first 8 books that I picked up, well, that is, the first 7 books that I read and 1 that I DNF'd, and I highly recommend checking out that video before continuing on with this one, because today we are simply doing that. We are continuing forward with part 2 of my monthly wrap. All of the stats were put up on the screen in my last video, so we're going to just jump right in. The next book that I picked up was book number 1 in the Lakeside Library mystery series by Holly Danvers. Once again, this was a book from my A to Z bingo board section of my TBR, and for those of you who may have forgotten since seeing the first part, with my A to Z bingo board, I basically have all the letters of the English-speaking alphabet on a bingo board. Under each letter, there is a series title. For me to cross off that prompt, I need to read the first 2 books in that series, or if there's only one, read that one book. So this was my book H, or H, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and it is book number 1 in the Lakeside Library Cozy Mystery series by Holly Danvers, called Murder at the Lakeside Library. And I gave this book a total of 2 stars. Let me tell you very quickly why. Welcome to book 1 in the Lakeside Library, where Next to No Librarian actually happens series. Yeah, if you're new, hello and welcome. I'm Mr. Francy, and I really don't like inadequately titled series names. This book is called this is book 1 in the Lakeside Library Cozy Mystery series. And for the entire book, the library is closed. So there is no librarying that actually goes on, and that really annoyed me. It should have just been the murder at the Lakeside situation, or the Lakeside Mystery series, and not the Lakeside Library Mystery series. But anyway, the premise is, Rain Wilmont has just returned to her family's waterfront log cabin in Lofty Pines, Wisconsin, after the untimely death of her husband. The cabin is peaceful compared to Rain's corporate job and comes with an informal library that Rain's mother Willow used to run. But as Rain prepares for the reopening of the library, all hopes for a peaceful life are shattered when she discovers the body of Thornton Hughes, a real estate buyer, on the premises. So to my thoughts, I am so over inadequately titled series. This is not a con against Holly Danvers, but against publishing companies that named their series incorrectly. This series is called Lakeside Library Mystery Series, and yet nothing happened in the library in this book. Maybe if they called it Murder at the Lakeside, I'd not feel as slighted. But part of the reason I picked this up was because of the Lakeside Library theme. But that's just the beginning. I didn't enjoy the writing, the MC, nor the mystery. The book was almost completely mystery-leaning also, and I preferred to see more of the theme. I thought our main character's bestie, the side character, was fantastic, but that alone does not make an entire book work. As I would be willing to try another series by the author, I rounded upwards to 2 stars, but I will not be continuing on with this one. It just really let me down, so I gave it 2 stars. The next book that I picked up was my final A to Z bingo board prompt. It was my I prompt, which is the series A Beloved Bookroom Mystery by Dorothy St. James. Book number 1 is called The Broken Spine. With the beautiful Dewey Decimal on the cover. That's right. In case you couldn't understand what I said, on the cover there is a cat, and this book is set at a library, and this cat's name is Dewey, short for Dewey Decimal. I absolutely love Dewey. So, the premise of this book is, in this book we follow True Beckett, a librarian from Cypress in South Carolina. The book opens up with True appearing like she's trying to pull off a heist, but when we go back in time we realize why. The town planner has come to the library she works at to announce that, with permission from the mayor, the library will now fully convert to digital. Yep, no more physical books. As the town planner himself said, they'll all go to the landfill. But when the town planner is found dead under suspicious circumstances and True was in the building that night with her stray cat Dewey Decimal, now True needs to crack the case that is, before she's found guilty and her secret book room is exposed. So yeah, a lot to take in there. We have the town planner coming in saying, we're going to go completely digital. Yeah, it's all totally fine. All the physical books are just going to go into a landfill. It's totally fine. I'm so glad that True had the reaction that I did, because I lived vicariously through True, let me tell you. So True decides she wants to have a secret book room. Hence why it's called the A Secret Book Room Mystery. She wants to have a secret book room that does still have physical copies of books for the library customers, readers, bibliophiles, call it what you will, who still want to borrow physical copies of books. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this. To my thoughts, I really enjoyed the book, having just come off a library book where no librarian was actually happening. It was perfect timing that this one was 95% spent at the library. I kid you not. This is theme. Don't get it twisted. Don't get me wrong. There is a mystery in this book that we're trying to solve, absolutely. But 95% of the book is set at the actual library. Woo! See, it's not too hard to ask to go with the theme. We are at the library. Yee! I love True as a main character and have a very soft spot for the stray she adopted, Dewey Decimal. I love that the theme was about getting rid of all the books in the library, as I am an extremely passionate about the exact opposite. I'm extremely passionate about keeping physical books in libraries, and keeping physical books as well, not putting them in a landfill. And so I related to True in a very big way. Shout out to Francy, the elderly woman and True's friend. Loved her. Truly an enjoyable read. Just a little too long, so I did dock a star and gave it 4 stars, but I highly recommend this one. If you love bookish themed cozies, this is one to get behind. I mean, you are rallying for a really good cause. Hashtag save the paperbacks and hardcovers. Seriously, this was fantastic. Dorothy St. James, for my debut book of your works, I was very impressed. I just wish it wasn't as long as it was, but otherwise, a perfect book for me. 4 stars. So now we move on to my spares section of my monthly wrap. So we have the 3 sections, the SAS list, the A to Z bingo board, and the spares. The spares are all about books that I've just seen that I would like to give a go to, but there's no promise of commitment or anything like that. So if I don't like the book, it's totally fine. And if I do like the book, then I can keep reading if I want to, or I can add it to my 2026 TBR or something like that. It's just spares, no commitment, just something fun to do. And the first book that I read in my spare section was a book that I did actually technically start in April and then couldn't get through, so I had to start it again in May, but I did get through it this time. It is book number 1 in the Italian chef cozy mystery series by Catherine Bruns, called Penne Dreadful. And I want to give a massive shout out to my dear friend Ducky. Hi Ducky, thank you so much for the recommendation of this series. I absolutely loved book 1, and great news for people like me. The audiobook of book number 3 has just come out, so I'm so excited. I definitely want to continue on with the series. I gave this book 5 stars. So the premise of this one is, in this series we follow Tessa Esposito, an Italian chef from Harvest Park, New York, who lives with her cat, a black tuxedo named Luigi. In the first book, Tessa is grieving the death of her husband when a family member who is a cop advises her that her husband's death may not have been accidental. He advises Tessa to take a job at a local Italian restaurant whose employees are under suspicion. But when Tessa starts working there, things come to light that she never would have suspected, including secrets her husband was keeping from her. So to my thoughts, this was a fantastic cozy. While I think the culinary side was a 4 out of 5 and could have used a little more, just a personal preference, there was still enough of it to be considered decent. I also found the mystery intriguing, especially since there was so much to discover around every single corner. What a fantastic book from Catherine Bruns. I definitely look forward to reading more, and I did say as the title for my review on Goodreads for this one, I don't binge read cozy mystery series, but if I did, I'd definitely binge read this one. It was very hard to say, no, Mr. Francy, we're just reading 1, and we'll get to number 2 later. I gave this an overwhelming 5 stars and highly recommend. But oh, my friends, we are about to discuss the book that ruined me. And I mean, it was so good that I ended up suffering a massive bookish hangover after this one. And I just feel bad for the books I read after this. This book, I cannot hype it up anywhere near enough. It is book number 1 in the Vera Wong Cozy Mystery series called Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Sultanto. So I've been doing a bit of research over is this a cozy, and what I have come to find out, thank you so much to everyone who has advised me, is that this is actually a millennial cozy, so it is still technically a cozy mystery. It's just not a cozy mystery in the way that I'm used to, you know, the ye old-fashioned classic cozy mystery way of doing things. One of the reasons why this is the case, and I do want to warn you up front, is because this book does include profanity. There isn't a lot of profanity, but there is some in there, so do be mindful of that going in. To me, profanity does not make a book cozy. If anything, it makes it a lot more gritty than cozy, and so I was a bit, I found that to be a bit interesting. In saying that, though, I absolutely love the book. So if there is profanity in a book and I still give it 5 stars, then it's a great book. Because to me, there are so many words in the English language that we can use that we don't need profanity in books. We can come up with a much better word that shows what you're trying to portray than F this, F that, S this, S that, C this, C that. We don't need that. Like, there's so many better words we can use. But anyway, I still gave it 5 stars because it was absolutely amazing. So the premise of this one is that we follow, I'm not going to read the premise that I didn't write, I'm going to tell you my own premise. Here we go. We follow an elderly Asian woman by the name of Vera Wong, who runs a tea shop called Vera Wang's Worldwide Famous Tea Shop or something like that, which is ironic because it's not that famous at all. She has one customer who is more like a friend than a customer. But anyway, one morning she sleeps upstairs. She comes downstairs into the shop to find a man is dead, and Vera gets almost too excited and this starts the laughs for me. So Vera comes down to her shop, and rather than going, oh my god, someone died, she goes, oh, someone died. Okay, I love my CSI show, so I know I'm going to help the cops. I'm going to draw the white outline for them so that saves them time, and I'm going to make them some tea. Well, unfortunately, the cops end up arriving at Vera's tea shop after she phoned in that there was the dead body there, and they are not impressed at all that she has created the white outline, and they don't want a bar of her tea. Well, Vera takes this as the cops really don't care. They don't want to solve the case. They are not only rude, but incompetent. So Vera Wong is going to solve the case. This book was just everything I could want and more. If you are looking for laughs basically every second page, you need to read this book. All Vera Wong wants is to make people happy by giving them teas that are going to help them, while at the same time find a girlfriend, eventually a wife for her son. She is just a brash, confident, hilarious, elderly Asian sleuth. I love her. This is probably my favorite book of all time, and that's saying a lot. I've been doing this for 6 years on booktube. To say this is my favorite book of all time says everything. Go into this book for Vera Wong. It is literally the Vera Wong series for a reason, because it is all about this character that is Vera Wong. She is absolutely fabulous, and you will not regret reading the book if you don't mind a bit of profanity here and there. So to my thoughts, quite possibly the best book I've ever read. I don't know if this is a cozy mystery or not. We've already confirmed all that. But it is the best book I've ever read. I love Vera so much. She has to be my absolute favorite character in all of literature, which I know is saying something, but really, she does have to be my favorite character in all of literature. This book was exactly what the doctor ordered. Amateur Asian grandma sleuth who isn't afraid to tell it how it is and knows she's better than the cops. This book will have you in stitches, laughing, and then calm you down right on time for the epic reveal. I need more Jessie Sultanto, and there is a book 2 out. Jessie Sultanto, I'm just telling you with enough notice, please keep going. This could be like a 20-book series and I still wouldn't be sick of it. Please keep going. I want more than just 2 books. Book number 1, an overwhelming 5 stars. You'll just need to read this book. If you can't handle profanity, I get it. I don't normally like it myself. Had I been told that there's profanity in this book, I probably would have gone, oh, I don't know if it's for me. But I'm glad I didn't know that because I went into it anyway and I still loved it, which says a lot because with profanity, I normally would rate down for the profanity because I don't think it fits in cozies. So I would have given it 4 stars, but the book was so good, I didn't care. Really, if you are lacking in laughter and a good time, this is where you go. Go spend some time with Vera Wong. I love her. Everyone needs a Vera Wong in their life. An overwhelming, it can't be understated. So we'll say it one more time for those in the back. An overwhelming 5 stars for this amazing book. So as I mentioned earlier, I finished Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murders and I suffered from a massive bookish hangover. I knew I would. Even before I finished the book, when I was about a chapter or 2 away, I knew that I was going to have a massive bookish hangover with it, and I wasn't wrong. So I felt sorry for whatever book was coming up next, because if it didn't come close to matching Vera Wong, I probably wasn't going to like it. So please don't take this personally and take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt, because had I read this next book as the first book I read in the month of May, it probably would have gotten 4 or 5 stars, but because I read it right after Vera Wong, it was a letdown in comparison. So just keep that in mind. It is book 1 in the A Magical Bakery Cozy Mystery series called Brownies and Broomsticks by Bailey Cates. Beautiful cover. I have to admit that. Very beautiful. So the premise of this one, and I gave this book 3 stars because comparatively, I should not compare books. I know. I've been on this channel long enough to know you don't compare books. But I couldn't help it. I was through a bookish hangover that lasted longer than reading this book. It even lasted into the next book. So yeah. Okay. All right. In this series, we follow Katie Lightfoot, a baker in Savannah, Georgia. However, there is more to Katie than meets the eye. She is not a human baker like she always suspected, but instead a witch, and she's about to find out a lot more about herself. When a curmudgeonly customer is murdered outside the Honey Bee Bakery, Uncle Ben becomes the prime suspect. With the help of handsome journalist Steve Dawes, charming firefighter Declan McCarthy, and a few spells, Katie and her Aunt Lucy stir up some toil and trouble, to clear Ben's name and find the real killer. So to my thoughts, tough to explain in words, but ultimately just wasn't the book for me. I didn't enjoy following Katie as a main character, and also wasn't a fan of the audio narration. There was nowhere near enough culinary aspects for my liking, and the conclusion felt rather forced and rushed. I enjoyed meeting her familiar. In this case, it was a dog named Mungo. Normally they're cats, so I appreciated that it was a dog this time. But otherwise, it was just a book that I couldn't get into, and I gave it 3 stars. But keep all of that in mind with what I said. I was going through a bookish hangover, and this could have even been one of the Mistborn books. You all know how much I love my Brandon Sanderson, and I probably would have been let down by it because of my bookish hangover. So please don't take too much on board with what I'm saying with this, because I went in probably not in the right state of mind to read this book, but ultimately gave it 3 stars because that is fair. I'm not giving it 5 because I don't think it's worth it. I'm not giving it 1 because I'm not trying to be mean here. An average rating of 3 stars. So therefore, going into my next book, I was thinking, yeah, I'm doing really well. I read Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Sultanto, and it's kind of ruined me, so good luck to whatever I pick up. Obviously, we saw with that last one, it didn't do so well, so what about the next one? Yeah, if you thought 3 stars was bad. The next book that I picked up was book number 1 in the A Bad Hair Day mystery series by Nancy J. Cohen, which is called Permed to Death. And I gave this book 2 stars. There were reasons, absolutely, but I would be lying if I didn't say that part of the reason why I didn't enjoy this was because I was still dealing with that bookish hangover with Vera Wong. So, I mean, maybe I should have just not read these two books and read the next book in Vera Wong. But if I'd done that, maybe my bookish hangover would have lasted even longer. So, Jessie Sultanto, come on, write more. If Tonya Kappas and, what's her name, Kathy Daly can release so many books every year, come on, Jessie Sultanto, just release like 10 books this year in that Vera Wong series so I can keep going. But with this one, so I went into this book because it is the Bad Hair Day mystery series book number 1. I went into it because it was set at a salon. And I thought, what a great idea. We have a cozy mystery set at a salon. Perfect excuse for the amateur sleuth to get information out of those they want to interview, because where do people gossip more outside of a water cooler than at the salon? And yet it just didn't work for me. So hairstylist Maria Shaw is already having a bad hair day when one of her clients dies in the shampoo chair at the salon. Then Detective Dalton Vale accuses her of putting poison in the wealthy woman's coffee creamer. Grumpy Bertha Kravitz might not have been Martha's favorite customer, but she wouldn't have murdered the lady. With her reputation at stake, Martha decides it's up to her to unmask the killer. So to my thoughts, I did not enjoy this book. It was incredibly slow-paced and way too descriptive. Yeah. If there are two things that I really just don't do well with, we're not monoliths as bibliophiles, and something that I can absolutely tell you, guaranteed, that I don't do well with: 1, slow-paced books, and 2, overly descriptive. Especially in a cozy mystery, there's no need for it to be overly descriptive. That's not cozy to me. Descriptive, yes, but overly descriptive, no. It was too much for me. So I also wish I'd cared for the main character, Maria, but I just didn't. I think this book's premise had a lot of potential, but I do feel personally that it failed in its execution. It was gritty for a cozy also, with a lot of spicy references that I don't think have aged well. I also really wanted to enjoy getting to know Maria's Jewish culture, because she's Jewish, and I thought, yay, this could be fun. But it was as though the author only knew of certain Yiddish terms and nothing else. So yeah, like, we didn't really dive into the Jewish culture. It was just more, let's give her some Yiddish terms to use, like oy vey and whatever else, things that I feel like everyone knows oy vey. But anyway, I'm thinking of so many other Yiddish words I could use. I mean, I'm not Jewish, but I love Yiddish terminology, so I get why Nancy J. Cohen included it, but I just wish that she'd gone further and we'd explored more of the Jewish culture. But, all in all, it's a book I'm glad I read, because I just won't be continuing on with the series. But if you know of any other cozy mysteries that are set at a salon that you think I would love, bonus points if it's available on audio, please do let me know, because I do want to read a salon cozy mystery that I'm going to love. So I gave this one 2 stars. The next book that I picked up was my second last book of the month, and my second last spare of the month, which is book number 1 in a classic cozy mystery series. Classic series. It's been out for a very long time. And I was very much looking forward to this book. Book number 1 in the Meg Langslow cozy mystery series by Donna Andrews, Murder with Peacocks, which has won an award, Agatha Award winner for Best First Novel. Well, no offense to the Agatha Award people, I disagree. I gave this book 3 stars. Alright, let me explain why. So the premise of this one is, so far Meg Langslow's summer is not going swimmingly. Down in her small Virginia hometown, she's maid of honor at the nuptials of 3 loved ones, each of whom has dumped the planning in her capable hands. Southern hospitality is strained to the limit by an offensive newcomer who hints at skeletons in the guests' closets. But it seems this lady is offended by one too many when she's found dead in suspicious circumstances, followed by a string of accidents, some fatal. Soon, level-headed Meg's to-do list extends from flower arrangements and bridal registries to catching a killer before the next catered event is her own funeral. So now to my thoughts. I'm not a huge fan of this one. I think Donna Andrews is onto something, but the cast of characters is too long. First of all, like, seriously, excuse me. The cast of characters, there was way too many. I couldn't keep them straight. I should have written them down on a notepad. That's how many there were, with little, monikers so that I knew who was who. But I knew, regardless of who the killer was, and once we have that reveal, I knew that whoever it was, I wouldn't remember who that person was because there were just too many people. Much too big a cast for me. I think Donna, and as I said, she's on to something, but the cast of characters was too big. And also having dates instead of standard chapters makes it seem more like a journal than a standard story. Yeah, so rather than chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, there are page breaks in the book, so very randomly. Like, you know how chapters are usually at the top of the page? We could be 3/4 of the way down the page, and then we get another date. And it's literally, the date would be something like Tuesday, June 21. And so it reads more like a journal than like an actual standard prose. So that did annoy me. I did really appreciate the humor, though. I got a lot of good laughs out of this book, and that's why I did give it 3 stars. I would have given it 2 or maybe even 1 if not for the laughs. I really appreciated, after my letdown with the last 2 books that I read, getting to laugh with this book. That was fantastic. But as far as the rest of it, I'm sorry, Agatha Award people, but I didn't think this was so good. So, yeah, let me know if you've read more books in this series in the comment section below. Please do let me know if the cast of characters diminishes or if it's the same or gets even bigger. And also let me know if the dates continue on as the chapter headings, because if that's the case, I definitely don't want to continue on with this one. It just wasn't for me. But if what I've said for this book or the last 2 appeal to you in any way, shape or form, please don't allow me to stop you from picking them up because you may love them. But they just weren't for me. So by this point in May, I was really looking forward to reading the last book that I was going to pick up, because ever since Vera Wong and my experience with the Jesse Sutanto book, I was just like, I needed something that makes me happy. And thank goodness I got it with the final book I read in the month, just on time. And that is book number 1 in the Nun, N-U-N, Nun, of your Business Cozy Mystery series, called Then There Were None by Dakota Cassidy. So, the premise of this book is, in this book we follow Sister Trixie Lavender, an occasionally possessed, excommunicated nun, after doing something unspeakable. Something that she had no control over. But at least she has help, her amazing friend Coop, the demon, who saved her from an ugly end, remaining by her side loyal and true. Coop was Hell's best tattoo artist back in the day, and together with Sister Trixie's designs, they're opening Inkabel's tattoos and piercings right in the heart of Portland's district, Cobbler Cove. Their bid to fit in would be a little less rocky if someone hadn't killed their landlord on day 1 in their own shop. So, yeah. Absolutely, this was a blast. Meeting Sister Trixie, excommunicated? Yeah, excommunicated nun, and her psychic, who just so happens to be a demon. I mean, for a cozy, I feel like we absolutely have jumped the shark, but I needed something different after my bookish hangover, and Dakota Cassidy, you gave it to me in diamonds. You really did. I really enjoyed this book, less for the mystery, more for the characters. It was wonderful to get to know Sister Trixie and her demon friend Coop, as well as her animal, which was a talking Irish-speaking owl named Livingstone. I loved Livingstone. I loved Coop. I loved whatever her name was. Sister Trixie. Yep. The cast of characters was smaller than any of my last 3 books, which made this one so much easier to focus on. An added bonus for sure. Great way to end the month of May. I gave this book 4 stars. And now for everyone's favourite game that we like to call Up. These are the books that I have spoken about in part 2 of my May monthly wrap. So how was your reading month of May? Let me know in the comments section below. Let me know something sparkly that's been happening regarding yourself, something positive, happy and upbeat that has occurred so far in this early month of June. And until next time, I'm going to let you all go with peace, blessings and so much love. Please, of course, as always, do be kind, do love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. Yes! I love you all so much. Woo! And until next time, happy reading. Bye, everyone!